everybody carry on. They're like, I'm like, give it to me.
Oh, yeah. 2019. I'm calling the meeting of the Newmarket School Board to order, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, on our agenda, we have a non-public. We're going to move that to the end so we don't have to disrupt the meeting. So I'd move to a public comment if anybody wants to approach.
Extra points.
No?
So I'm Joanne Lazarus, and I just want to publicly state and thank Al Zink for serving on our board. Also, many people aren't aware that, well, there is a private cemetery that is on the elementary school playground. Many people aren't aware that Al and his family paid for that new grave marker there. They did all the research and took care of that, so I just really want that publicly known and that it's really appreciated. So, thank you, Al.
Thank you. Okay, we're on to now school board committee reports. The building committee, we are going to have our next meeting. It's going to be a combined meeting of the school board and building committee on November 7th, commencing at 5 o'clock. It'll be here in the council chambers. The chief things we're going to discuss the current status of the construction of the budget, but then also we're going to take out the ad alternate list that we had prioritized some time ago with input from folks in the schools, teachers, administration, building committee, and go through that, and also go through, we've done a survey this fall of what the needs are now that we've been in there a little while, what are things that we notice, furniture needs and all that. We're at a point in the project where we gotta consider everything. There's light at the end of the tunnel. The project will be done in the spring, and so we need to make a decision of whether to go forward on certain things or not. So that's we'll have both the building committee there to weigh in, and the school board along with the construction professionals. So that's it. Other than that, we're still proceeding on schedule at the junior senior high school with construction. I think they're wrapping up the roof next week or the week early after that week. So that's a big milestone to get that done. I think we'll have some parking spaces freed up because they're using a couple right now, a few of them for dumpsters. So things are going along well with the construction, and I really look forward to that meeting on the 7th. So that's it. Any other committee reports? None? Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I just realized, is there a student report missing on the?
Yeah,
Is this
it's
what
not
we usually
listed.
do it?
Yeah, it's not listed, but we'll do it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cross country has their GSC championship meet in Pittsburgh at 3:15 this Friday, so that's exciting. Boys varsity football has a game at 2 p.m. on October 19th versus Summerworth High School, and it's home. Girls varsity soccer is doing really well. They only have one loss, and the next game is tomorrow at 4 p.m. versus Lisbon Regional High School. Boys varsity soccer is also doing really well with only one loss. The next game is tomorrow at 4 p.m. versus Lisbon Regional High School. Unified soccer is, their next game is October 3rd at 3:30 p.m. versus Spalding High School, and it's away. There's trick or canning, so make sure you have your cans out for all the Newmarket. I believe it's SALT, National Honor Society, and Student Council that's collecting that. National Honor Society is doing a breast cancer walk this Sunday in Exeter. Newmarket Eats is November 10th, and it's from 6:30 to 8 p.m. It's in the mill space. National Honor Society, their induction ceremony is November 4th at 6 p.m. in the cafeteria in the high school. And sophomores and juniors took the PSATs actually yesterday, and from what I've seen, it went really pretty well for everyone. So.
Excellent. All right, so superintendent report. Susan.
Yes, well, today was quite the exciting day with our first delay, and we learned a lot today about how technology is really super and how it can be challenging. So, all in all, we didn't get any complaints, but when we tried to get our notice up on MUR,
Yep.
they were having technology problems and they couldn't, everybody else could go up, but ours couldn't, so we were on the phone with them for like a half an hour.
We can tweet it too.
Well, that's true.
Because the SAU
But,
16 had struggled, and
yeah. Yeah,
somebody tweeted it.
yeah. So I think we got the bugs worked out of that.
Oh, good.
For the viewing public. So that did create a challenge. It's
Yeah.
such a nice resource to have. We did get it up on the website. And then the other thing that we're gonna tweak next time is, in addition to sending out the phone blast, we're also gonna send out emails. Because we learned that some families didn't have their phones on, so even though the phones went, not that they would necessarily be on their computers, but if we can blast it out, on the TV, on their phones, and an email, I'm just not sure
Yeah.
what other ways we could communicate delays, so, thank you to, both the chiefs, for their help and support. Our buildings were fine, I mean, we had, power in the buildings, but it was just a matter of, there was a lot of debris in the road along with, some,
It's a
trees that
mess.
had gone down, so,
Yeah.
so doing the delay, made a lot of sense, for safety purposes, so. Spaghetti supper's going, great guns, they still might be out in the parking lot, they finally made it through, to the end, so it was, so wonderful to see, the community come out and all the kids, feeling so proud. The cakes were just amazing, all the work that goes behind the scenes and, contributions made by, vendors, for the food and everything, just makes such a wonderful community event, and to invite everybody back into our schools, to see the wonderful investment they've made, it's just, it was really a very warm evening there, so. I think overall it was a good day had by all, so, things are going well, we've got, budget work underway, and, I think we're headed in a pretty positive direction, so.
Good. Thank you, Susan. So our next thing, we're gonna move down the Medicaid reimbursement, down the agenda a little bit. So Erica can join us for that. So next thing on the agenda is discussion. Those who may have been watching last week, we considered an article about building board superintendent relationship and, board community relationship consistent with that theme. Kim's gonna share an article that we read this week.
Okay. Thanks for this article, Mike, first of all. The neat part about it for me was that it sort of takes on another look at topics that we've discussed at our recent retreats and from the last article. And they take it to a little bit of a deeper level, and I enjoyed that greater depth. With the board's permission, I'll share some highlights, and then we as a team can discuss it further if that works for everybody. And the first thing is the overarching principle that I found in that, and we've discussed time and time again, is that we need to shift our collective focus as a board to student achievement. Student achievement in all ways, and I'm gonna stress that every time, the whole child, not just academic achievement, but all parts of the whole child. And studies show that there's a direct link between effective board governance, i.e. what goes on here, and district collaboration as a result of that positive governance, and then consequently student achievement. So in short, every bit of work that we do, and we've talked about this, Mike, at the retreat and other times, is directly linked to student achievement, and if it's not, then we need to rethink and reshape what we're doing as a board. And this article suggests, and I agree, that we should be held accountable for that focus on achievement for the whole student. The good news, as I've said, is that we have really started looking at these initiatives and have discussed them at both of our retreats fairly in depth. We agreed to and signed a document that holds a lot of things that I'm going to talk about in this discussion, I think we'll talk about as a group, to be the new governing principles for our group and our team. So I think we are definitely on the right track, and I'm going to break this down sort of into the key components of effective, successful school board superintendent relationships. the first thing that's discussed is clear definitions of expectations, duties, and responsibilities of both sides of it. To relate things sort of to governmental terms, and this was done in the article, and Mike, you hit on it before, the school board is sort of the legislative branch of things, or the law policy branch, and the executive branch, or the superintendent, is the overarching authority. So much like the House of Representatives, the school board evaluates the effectiveness of the performance of the superintendent as educational and operational leader of the district. And we focus on, or we should be focusing on, collaborative long-term planning and strategy to, again, affect student achievement. And as we've said before, this will really take focus as we move next year into the visioning process. And a couple points later on, we'll go back to that. Also, a key point in terms of definition of expectations, duties, and responsibilities, eliminating role confusion. Where is my lane? What is my lane? Am I staying in it? Am I going out of it in small ways and big ways? And how do you as a team bring me back? Or how do we suggest each other come back? Those are important things. And again, finally, and we did this again with the goals that we just developed that piggybacked into Susan's goals because they all need to be linked. We should be focused on future planning related to student achievement. I'm going to say it 100 times. They should be clear, and they should be shared with all the stakeholders in the system. People in the school should understand what our goals are and how their roles will fulfill those goals. The next thing is one that I think, and the author states, is the most important element, and that is effective and respectful communication and collective goal setting. Really, how do we build a trust as a group, a partnership moving forward? How do we develop clear processes of communication, again, so that I don't go rogue? Work to develop and build that mutual trust and respect in all ways. Evaluate the whole team individually. Am I doing self-reflection? Are we evaluating each other in appropriate, constructive ways so that we can get the most out of each other? And formally and informally do that. Improve decision-making where it's needed. One of the benefits that I think we've had that we can build upon is having robust dialogue about issues and then coming to decisions that are student-focused. So I think that's something we can continue to do. One of the things that jumped out at me in the article was that one of the core reasons why this is so important, this communication piece, especially with the board and the superintendent, is that when the communication fails, it says in the article that superintendents often modify their recommendations in order to compromise and gain board approval, even when it's potentially detrimental to the students, because they want to make nice. That's not what we want. We want to have a trusting, supportive environment so that we can be honest and do what's best at all times. That's what I want, at least. So that really got me. And then finally, the core part of the communication of a more formal nature is the evaluation of the superintendent. It's crucial to the communication process, but it's proving somewhat challenging to find an effective tool to do that. With input from various sources, including Susan, including the New Hampshire School Boards Association, other districts, things from different parts of the country. Jen and I will be working overtime, Mike, as you would ask, to really develop that new tool, working with the board, so we get something that is effective, appropriate, and not a time-consuming enterprise, but that gets it there. It's interesting that one of the main suggestions for that in the article is the one from Massachusetts, and I know Susan has some different views on that, but that'll be something we'll add into it. So the next thing that I want to highlight is training. We've talked about this also. Really developing effective and useful orientation processes, not just for new board members, but I think people that are potential candidates, so that people understand what this role is. You can't understand it all till you're really into it, but what are the time expectations? What are those commitment expectations? Those types of things, so that we don't have turnover when the expectations don't meet the reality. And the last thing that I want to talk about is sort of the elimination of the politics or self-serving policies and objectives. And I think, Mike, you hit upon that in terms of the concept of a trustee. You know, if a board member has a self-serving motive, it can lead to role confusion as they act on for themselves or for their special interest groups. One of the things that kept hitting me in the article is that we are very fortunate that at this point in time, due to the hard work of many in this community, we have strong ties to the community and to the district and vice versa. Citizens are proud of the part that they are playing in the facilities project. They supported our staff by approving a robust CBA last year and support our kids at a variety of events in a variety of ways, like the spaghetti dinner tonight. We are very fortunate, and I think it's important and incumbent upon us to build upon those existing relationships to engage the stakeholders again as we get to the visioning process. So that's all that I had. Any other thoughts that anyone has about the article?
Thank you very much for that, Kim. I think you summarized it really well. And as I'm sitting here, you talking about, potential models for superintendent evaluation, an idea occurred to me. If we're really true to our collaborative nature, I'm wondering if we might have a collective evaluation, or at least in time, at the
I would
same.
think so.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, if we're really true to that concept, maybe we could work that in, that we're evaluating ourselves, and maybe not entirely apart from the superintendent, because we need to be doing it together. And the student achievement thing, I know we called it development, and we added a couple other words to it, but everybody gets the idea of that being the focus. I mean, it sounds self-evident, but if you even look at our agenda tonight, we got stuff that we gotta do, right? We gotta approve minutes, we gotta give updates and reports, but I venture to say that, out of everything here, what can we really say is really geared towards student achievement. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is what, and this isn't being critical, but this is what we've done,
Yeah.
Meeting after meeting.
Yeah.
Maybe we can start to look at that, and I know we did a move towards that a couple years ago in terms of the workshop model,
Mhm.
and focus on that, but it's good that we're gonna do this week after week, cause we need to think out of the norm,
Yeah.
and because one of the things I got from this article is that it's totally predictable what happens in districts, time and time again. It's role creep, role confusion,
Yep.
and lack of communication, who knows what chicken or the egg there.
Yep.
And then it's turnover, whether it be superintendents or teachers, and that's detrimental. And I think that's really, to me, that's why it's so important to develop a collaborative process. This ain't easy, all around, to do this, to be a superintendent, a teacher, a school board member, it's just not easy. And we're gonna go through times where we have tough decisions to make, or we're criticized, because we have to make a hard decision. And if we're not solidified as a team,
Yeah.
and that, we break down, then that's I think where we get away from our mission. Like you said out of the article, you start to do things to get them passed, or to get past them, rather than doing the right thing. So let's keep talking about these things. We'll have another article next week, and we also, the book that I mentioned at the retreat is available
We have
to
it,
pick up.
it's upstairs.
Yeah, we can
Oh,
get it
great.
after the meeting, so that's
I
the
think-
one we committed to read by our December meeting, so we got a couple months. It's a quicker read too, so.
I forgot to say that I talked to a citizen who asked that and I didn't do it, I just thought of it now, to talk into the mic so people can hear it home.
Oh, right.
Ah.
I forgot about
I
that.
meant to say that at the
Oh.
beginning, so I apologize
I
to
think
that
one of the
citizen.
things I took from that article too, which is really important, is community.
Yep.
The community understanding what our role is, because again, where we've had these different superintendents and we've done different things and we've been so involved with community, trying to get everything passed, we now need to sit back and go, okay, this is now our role. This is what we're going to do as a board. This is the chain of command.
Yep.
And then again, I thought about the training,
Mhm.
how we bring people in, and we just like, here you go, welcome in. But everybody joins the board for a selfish reason. Every single one of us are here for a selfish reason.
Actually,
Not me.
I did. I'll be the first one to say, I came in because
Well,
I wanted a new building and I was gonna fight tooth and nail to get it. I'm still here. I'm staying till it's finished. But you learn so much, but I think, I would never want to say to somebody, well, don't join because you have a selfish reason. Join for that selfish reason, learn more about that reason, and then everybody should be part of some committee in town. I think it should be obligatory. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my spiel.
I would like to echo the idea of self-evaluation. It's not always easy, but thinking back to the article from last meeting as well, where you see there's this disconnect between the way that boards see themselves and the way superintendents see them. It probably has a lot to do with the board not exactly evaluating themselves in an objective possible way. So I think that we had a tool in the last packet that is at least a start on that that we could look at. So I think that's a great idea.
And ultimately, shouldn't we be evaluating ourselves based on student achievement?
Yeah.
I mean, shouldn't we commit to that? I mean, we when incrementally, and when we get to a visioning process and really set goals around that and benchmarks. I mean, I think that should be our measure. Not how much attendance we had or how many minutes we approved or how many. I mean, that's really got to be it.
And I think if we're focused on that, for me, it really makes me it reaffirms for me how crucial this role is, how we set the tone for things, and if we guide people towards that student achievement goal and provide the resources where we can in appropriate, thought-out ways to have that happen, everybody wins.
And it informs everything we do. It's going to inform our review process. It's going to inform the onboarding materials.
Yeah.
Really everything we do. So.
And I think also when we really get into the mindset of long-term planning, that's a paradigm shift too. It's not, I'm putting out this fire to move on to this fire to this fire.
Yes.
It's, this is happening now, and we know that the plan is that 5 steps down the road, this is going to happen, and that's going to be that budgetary concern because there are costs associated to it, but there's a plan moving forward.
And this is all foundational, because to get there, it's got to take some courage.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to make some change and to not only commit to the change, but to see it out.
Yeah.
And we're only going to do that if we have built that relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that we're doing now is modeling scholarly conversation by reading reports and articles and some research. I think that all speaks to student achievement and the types of citizens that we would like to raise. So I don't want to take away from the work that we're doing just by going through these exercises every week. I think the other thing too is that however imperfectly, we have gone through a goal-setting process so that it can guide the work this year. And so the board, through our retreat, we were able to establish some goals for this year based on your goals and some needs in the school district. I created some goals, and I'm working actively with the administrators and team leaders to refine the building level goals, which we will be publishing, to their point. We'll be publishing that in another couple of weeks out to the community as well as to the staff. So I think we've done an awful lot of work in a very short period of time that aligns with a lot of these best practices that we've been reading about. So I just didn't want the discussion to end without saying that even though on this particular agenda we don't have a lot on it, and it's maybe perhaps a little bit more oriented towards the business of the board, that most of our meetings have really been centered around, governance and student achievement, and shifting our focus away from and moving forward from the building project to, high quality teaching and learning, and what does that mean to us in service to a visioning process that we'll be going through next year. So I find it to be incredibly exciting, and this is all groundwork for our future. So. thank you for engaging in this work.
All right. So next on the agenda is the issue of the board vacancy in light of Al's resignation. If we don't mind, I'll just get maybe the conversation going. It might make sense to essentially do what we did most recently, to advertise an opening, have people submit letters of interest, and then have people in and talk to them, you know. If it seems to be the fairest and best way to do it. Any other thoughts? Matt?
I think that process worked well.
We had 3 really good candidates last time. Hopefully the same will happen again. So in terms of timing, you know, we will be in the midst of the budget. Maybe what I was thinking is to sort of have a 2-week period. You know, once we issue, you know, a request for letters or request for letters of interest, maybe have a 2-week submittal period, and people can get their letters in. And,
Are you talking right now? Like, when do you wanna start that process?
well, we would have to put out the request, so maybe, I would suggest that we do that maybe early next week. And,
We could probably get it out tomorrow, it's like,
Maybe-
I mean,
maybe,
it's,
yeah.
Penny has everything.
Yeah.
If we wanna follow the same process.
Yeah, and then maybe we could, you know, 2 weeks from Friday and, yeah, and then, take them in and then have a, maybe, time before, couldn't be the November 7th meeting.
Yeah, I'm looking at the calendar right now, like,
Yeah. We can decide that at the November 7th meeting, probably, I would think, because it's the 2 weeks.
It's a very heavy meeting on the 7th.
Yeah, no, I mean, decide, maybe just see what we have for letters of interest.
Yeah,
and-
yeah,
And then maybe decide at the next school board meeting to have folks in just before it. I think we did 15 or 20 minutes per
yeah.
each,
Mhm.
Sounds about right.
okay? Does that sound all right? And then, we can have them in and, you know, make a decision that night if we're comfortable, or push it off. So we're under no set schedule, but it is nice to have others to pull an oar. So, any other thoughts on that? Okay. So we'll do that. So we have some action items, several action items for tonight. Approval of the minutes of the September 24th meeting and the October 3 non-public meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the school board minutes from the September 24th, 2019 retreat minutes and the October 3rd public and non-public meeting minutes.
Your second.
Second.
Any questions or edits?
On the school board retreat minutes, and when my name is spelled out the full way, there's an E between the L and the Y. It's my mom's fault. I gave her too much labor. She gave me an extra E. So.
Anything else? If nothing, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Approved, it's unanimous. And then, who has do we have the manifest? There are the manifests, that's blue folder. So, let's make sure before we leave tonight that everybody looks and signs these as well. So, looking for a motion to approve the manifest.
I can do this one. I'm looking for the approval of $463,425.48.
So moved, a second? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next up, I don't know, Susan, if you, Jason's memos were pretty self-explanatory on the technology.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, did everybody saw those in their packets, but we need to approve those. We went through a bidding process for laptops,
Yeah.
a certain amount of laptops for staff, and, I think projectors to fit out 11 newly renovated rooms at the high school. And that information is in our packet. And we received quite a few bids, which was refreshing, you know?
Yeah.
And,
For the laptops.
yeah,
Yeah, and the HB material, so, anybody have any more questions on that?
I just always appreciate the thoroughness with which Jason
Yeah.
provides us
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, his memos are very well-written and professional, so we appreciate that for sure. If there aren't any questions or comments, can I see, have a motion, please, for approval of both the laptop, a bid and the projectors for the AV system?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. And then there's approval of a budget transfer request.
I will say, I love these orange slips of paper.
Yeah, it's easy.
It is helpful, isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, so, our interim business administrator is just requesting, transfer in the amount of, $5,000, to cover the costs of some classroom supplies and copier paper out of a line item that, has an unexpended balance.
And this isn't in addition to the budget, it's just moving it from one to the
Yeah.
other, but that
One
does-
item to the other,
Yeah,
yeah.
it does need to be approved, so, may I have a motion, please, to approve that budget transfer?
I approve that budget transfer.
Motion to approve it?
I make a motion to approve it.
May I have a second?
Second?
Any questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and Officer Drew, I think applied for and received, a grant for drug prevention education, and, that's awesome. And my son was actually filling out some stuff for that the other day, some questions, and it was interesting
Yeah.
to hear him talk about that. And, appreciate Officer Drew doing that. But it's a donation, it's a gift, so we need to approve that. And I'd seek a motion.
I make a motion to accept the NCEP Grant Drug Prevention Education money for Officer Drew.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All right. I'll comment that I just wanna thank NCEP for that generous
Yes.
gift. It's, they've given lots and lots of money over the years, and sometime we should find out what that total is, and, you know, it's pretty impressive, so thanks
Well,
to.
that's why we have to go to the Newmarket
Newmarket
Eats.
Eats.
We'll be there. Yeah, it's a great event, and,
And they will have my understanding is they have another grant cycle,
In
in
February. Yeah.
in February, so if anybody's.
Yeah,
So-
Molly Ewing got
Interested.
one. It helped us get to Philly, so we really appreciate it.
so, and that goes to Kim's earlier comment about that, you know, we already have some great support in the
Yeah.
community. It was pretty, you know, insightful for the founders of that, you know, to do that, and it takes work, and they have board members, and they have to do work to keep that going, so I'd like to recognize that. It's just another, we've got some good foundations here, so, if there are no other comments, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay,
Erica's here.
wanna go, Erica?
Set up the technology.
Sure. You know, what's just doing that, address this.
Oh, we can.
Yeah, well, in the interest of moving along while Erica's setting up, 2 seconds, so we've received a resignation, from Samantha Blackadar, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right.
Yep. Yep.
She was our, school social worker, and she's indicated, she submitted a letter of resignation, and, I'll pass it around, but, we
It's
should.
in our
have it.
packet.
You've got a pack, you got one in your packet, okay.
Yeah.
If everybody's read through it, we should just move to accept, and, when everybody's read it, somebody can maybe make that motion.
I make a motion to accept the letter of resignation from the school social worker.
And there is a second.
Second that?
Just wanna thank Samantha for her time here, I appreciate what she's done for us. That was, I believe that was a new position at the time. So, thank Samantha for work and good luck in the future. If there aren't any other comments, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. You ready, Erica?
Neither of these work.
Yeah, we had that problem the last time,
I wonder if
and I'm not really sure how they got it going.
Well, I have some printouts, so we'll go with the printouts.
All right. Just back up.
Low tech to the high tech.
Yep.
Thank you.
So just by way of introduction, there's, the district has received approximately $200,000 in revenue from, a federal, program that.
Can you say the number again?
About approximately 200,000 annually. It's a federal program, it's a reimbursement program, and not just New Hampshire, but all over the country. There's a program by which we can seek reimbursement for certain services that we provide that are medical in nature, and they change the rules. And as a result of that, it's not just us, but across the state of New Hampshire, it's removing about $28 million in revenue from school districts. And so I wanted to have Erica come here tonight and share with you the latest that we know about those changes, and hope that our school committee will do a little of the public leadership role that you're tasked with doing by contacting our legislators to let them know the impact that this has, and encouraging them to work with the administrators in the schools around the state in order to be able to come up with regulations and a program that will enable us to restore some of the revenue that's now going to be taken away from us. So with that,
And
I will-
revenue's jobs. Jobs is coverage for kids.
Yes,
It directly impacts the education of the children.
it does. And so many of you know that the state budget was passed a couple of weeks ago, and we got this great news that we were going to get potentially $236,000 in revenue. So in essence, what's happening here is, they're taking out of one pocket and putting in another. And I just thought it was really important to be able to say in a very public forum that the news isn't all rosy. And so I wanted Erica, who's very, very familiar with the program, and it is through her office that this work is done, to come here tonight and to be able to explain it in a 30,000-foot level, and then provide you with an opportunity to ask her questions. So, Erica?
So as Susan explained, and you can see in your packets, this is basically federal flow-through money that comes into the state. That's all dictated through a separate program, which is Medicaid to Schools program. That funding does not affect your insurance that you may get through Medicaid. It's a separate pool of money. That money is then provided to districts on a reimbursement basis. So we first pay for those services, provide those services, we document our services, and then we set rates, and then we bill back to the state. For these services to be reimbursed, the district must follow the rules that are in place. So for a long time, we've had standard Medicaid to school regulations that we followed, and as Susan mentioned, they entered into emergency rulemaking. So on July 1, they received a guidance memo from the federal government, and a new division through DHHS took over the Medicaid to Schools program. So it's all in DHHS, which is the Department of Health and Human Services. It was under the developmental services, and that's who was overseeing our program for all of these years. And now that has changed to the Division of Medicaid Services. Division of Medicaid Services is very much in a medical model. Like you go to your PCP, you get an order to then go see an occupational therapist. So they're trying to use those same regulations to apply to a school district. So in August, they filed these emergency rules. They stated that those were to expand our billing opportunities. They said that there was underserved students who were, had emotional disabilities that they wanted to expand services to, and that if they did not enter into emergency rulemaking, they would negatively impact districts financially by not being able to seek that revenue. When they put those emergency rules in, however, they actually ended up restricting our billing. One of the main areas where they just removed people as able to bill are guidance and our school psychologists. Those are the students, those are the professionals that our students are going to seek those mental health services that they said that they were trying to target to add services to. They then also tried to apply some of those rules, that very medical model of going to a doctor, and said that you had to get all orders through a doctor, an APRN, or a PA, which nullified all of our orders. So as of, I think it was August 26th or 27th, we cannot bill. We do not have any ability to bill unless we can find a way to hire a doctor and have a doctor overseeing our program, or individually try to access each student's doctor to then sign off on those orders.
Or the parent, puts the burden back on the parents as well,
Yes, unless we hire a doctor.
unless you hire a doctor.
Then we take that on, but then that doctor has to be overseeing the programs that are happening. So it just becomes a very interesting way that we are all looking in the state on how we're going to move forward. Also knowing that these emergency rules end in February. So right now we can't bill anything, but this is until February while they do permanent rulemaking. So to go over some of our historical, what that means for Newmarket, this is our historical billing, what we've received for reimbursement through our Medicaid to Schools program. I'll note that this year we budgeted $215,000 of anticipated revenue, right? So when we build our budget, we have our revenue and we have our expenses. And so the revenue offsets the expenses. So we budgeted for $215,000 to be coming in through this program. What happened when they then changed the rules was we had to stop billing, had to turn it off, because we have no orders that are now able to be billed through the rules. At the end of the summer, we had about $9,000 that had come in. I noted at the bottom and put it in kind of italics to note, we have now about 46% of our total reimbursements. The reason why we have that is because I had changed our vendor last year, and when I went to change our vendor, I paused our billing so that we could make a clean disconnect from one biller to the next biller. So I had back billing that then I pushed through over the summer. So had that not occurred, we would have $9,000 of our $215,000. So we're at almost $100,000. We're almost halfway there. We're in the process now of trying to go back and see if anything that was under the old rules may have been denied by the state that we can push through again to see if it'll be reapplied to try to boost up our revenues. But this is where we are currently.
And again, so now you're not focused on education, now we're chasing money.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of money. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of time to,
Right.
to
Yeah.
try to figure that out.
So, here we are saying, let's focus on education, but you have a government that's saying, nope, you don't have time.
And if you look at it also, there's students that are not getting what they need to get because of the loopholes and the new rules, if I'm reading this correctly.
Yes.
When we're still providing the services,
Okay.
what it just means is now
We can't charge for it.
we can't charge for it. We can't seek that revenue.
Okay.
So it puts the burden back onto the local taxpayers.
Right, so
is
when
what
we
it
go to
does.
do our budget next year and we don't have that 215,000, we have to find it.
Yes,
So that comes directly out of our educational funds.
yes.
So, our immediate quandary is this, this emergency, rule.
Yep.
Regime, which, the wisdom escapes me.
but more broadly, you know, what's, without getting political, what's the federal aim here? Is it, do we have a concept of, is it to make services, or?
At this point, it's difficult to ascertain exactly where that is coming from. We didn't find out until after the rules were already submitted and went into effect. Susan found out maybe 5 days after the rules went into effect.
'Cause it sounds like the states were kind of like backpedaling, this was thrust upon them, and they had to adjust.
They were given guidance, and then
Yeah.
they acted on that guidance through emergency rulemaking.
Mhm.
So now we have to enter into traditional rulemaking right now
Right.
to then have permanent rules
Yeah.
put into place. So
So we're not gonna know how this shakes out until the spring, probably.
we will not know how it shakes out. However, I do think that the emergency rules are gonna give us a real good clue as to how we are going to see the program moving forward.
Do they, you may, don't mean to put me on the spot, states usually typically use like a model rule? Like oftentimes they'll publish model rules which states will adopt for this, or is this everybody's on their own trying to figure it out?
This is not happening everywhere. This is happening in New Hampshire.
Just New Hampshire?
Yeah.
That guidance was provided to the entire nation, and this is how New Hampshire has decided to move forward with that
I
guidance.
gotcha, okay.
And every state has a different Medicaid to schools program and setup. I've been learning a lot about Vermont because we do have some districts who actually share districts between New Hampshire and Vermont.
Right.
So I've learned a bunch about how Vermont does it, and they have an audit every single month. They already have to have a doctor's order. However, the state provides the doctor. So if you've tried to put through your order once, twice, on the third try, the state doctor has to approve that. So they have mechanisms for those, and I'm not sure if New Hampshire is going to move towards something similar to that. Those have been questions that we've posed. This has obviously been a hot topic amongst other student service directors.
Now, are they asking you and your counterparts around the state for input, or?
Yes, so today I spent the afternoon at the Department of Health and Human Services at a stakeholder meeting. I am planning, and that's part of this, we know these go through February, I'll be attending those stakeholder meetings. And I also then at the end of the stakeholder meeting today, met with my president of my professional association to say, what information can we do as an association to try to give them, because as they described their process this afternoon, they have 6 weeks to have the emergency rule draft submitted. So my question was, how are you going to get stakeholder input and have draft rules sent and submitted to the state in 6 weeks? And they said, well, we're all hands on deck and we are all absolutely working on this. So my push was, as an association, let's try to get as much information out as soon as possible, so that we're not then looking at it on the back end. We did talk about trying to have meetings regionally, and as they had sections of the rules drafted, looking for feedback on sections of the rules. So instead of waiting for them to complete the entire rules packet, okay, we've got this section ready, give us some feedback on this section. But again, these are all things that are happening quickly. So actually that kind of goes through what I had on this slide. So we're working through our professional organizations. I'm attending those stakeholder meetings. And as Elizabeth said, I'm going to be proposing that we're reducing our revenue in the upcoming year. We've recently talked about what that might look like. I am going to be going back and pulling it's called remittances, which is what we get back from the state when they say, you submitted this and this is what we're paying you. So part of what I'm going to be doing over the next week to 2 weeks is trying to pull through our remittances to figure out exactly which areas we were getting reimbursed at what amount. So take that $215,000 and say 15 of it came from this, 15 of it came from that, and trying to make a calculated decision on then looking at how the rules are now. If I think these things will be billable in the upcoming year, this is what we could potentially see. So that, as well as what the region is doing. Currently, the region is saying most people are going to be looking at going to about 1/3 of what we've seen in the past.
One of the things we talked about in our superintendent roundtable last week was seeing if, since we're very close to proximity, if we could share the cost of a physician. Nonetheless, it's still gonna be an expense that nobody has in their budget
Right.
now. And so you have to invest to recover revenue.
And then you have to find the person, because that's obviously not gonna be an overpaid position, right?
No,
You
I mean,
know?
a physician's gonna cost a couple of $100,000, which none of us can afford, so, our thought was that if we could share, divided by 5 school districts, have them here 1 day per week, or if it's a larger school district, maybe they have them 2 days or 1.5 days, and smaller ones a half a day, or whatever it is. And these are just thoughts that we're having.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to react to something that you really don't know what the, what direction they're.
Well, literally, it was 3 weeks ago. We got the information, and
Yep.
that's it. There's no more billing.
Yes, and I've been to 2 meetings myself, superintendent meetings, where they've presented this to them. And, they've really gotten an earful from us, because it's really unconscionable. But they're not budging. I mean, they're really not. They're not offering any kind of relief or hope or.
DHS is not, yeah.
At all.
They seem pretty, they understand the medical world, and so they don't understand the world that we function in, and so they're really trying to apply their knowledge to what we do. And it just doesn't align.
Okay.
So they keep saying that we are only a setting in which services occur. And, a number of the professionals are feeling a bit slighted, some of our guidance counselors and our school psychologists who are on the ground.
That we fought for.
It's so short-sighted. It's just like, there are kids that may never, well, every kid goes to a doctor at some point, but the school people are the ones that are determining these core problems and addressing them. So to say that it's just an environment where services happen just seems so short-sighted to
But you
me.
have to look at who your educational leader is in this state. Do they understand how education works? Have they stepped foot in a public education? Not getting on my soapbox, but I'm there.
Well, and the big shift in my mind is from a preventive model.
Yeah.
Right? So if we can catch the issues that students are presenting us with early, then you can employ some strategies that can help them navigate moving forward. If what we have to do is wait until the kids fall apart so that they can they have to actually go to a physician in order to be able to get any treatment, I mean, that's, 10 steps backwards. And I think from an educational standpoint, it's maddening. It's absolutely maddening
Well,
because.
From an economic standpoint, it's foolish as well, because you don't save money in the long run.
Like
'cause
taxpayers.
Exactly.
You help, first and foremost, you help the students by helping them early.
Absolutely.
And then you help economically, right?
Now,
In the community.
and on top of this, they're now pushing the Suicide Prevention Act as well. So your staff's gonna be trained, but we're not gonna get paid for that, because that's not, because I'm really not, I'm not a doctor. Yeah.
Will be kind of completely off the table.
But that's money from our pocket that they're pushing, saying that you have to train. Every individual has to be trained.
Unfunded mandates.
So back to
Yeah.
Susan's point, and originally about in our role,
Yeah.
and I think this comes full circle in terms of trying to focus on the student betterment, is that maybe we can be in touch with our legislators
Cahill,
here
yeah.
in Newmarket,
Yep.
and
And we are fortunate to have some very active ones in the
Yes.
State House. Michael Cahill comes to mind immediately.
I know.
I will.
I have his email right here.
Yes.
I've got it.
We've gathered the information.
I had pulled the reps and also Governor Sununu. I don't have an email for him, but there's a fax, his address, and there's one other thing.
We
that
should
was
also
on
put this on the website as well with this packet, so
Mm-hmm.
people can begin to understand it.
Another thing that I didn't include in my moving ahead, just so people are aware, we still have all of our providers documenting the services that they are doing. Not only so that we could potentially, once we do figure out who is going to order, DHHS today did say that they will allow back billing so long as the billing and who is signing off and providing meets their final rules. So, having an idea of which direction they're going, we can put those things in place, and then hopefully, as long as they're going in the same direction they are now, we could seek back billing. So we are continuing to document all our services, not only for the Medicaid piece, but it's also for us to show that we do provide the services that are in students' IEPs. That's, a parent could say, how do I know that I've got 30 minutes of speech? This is how we do it. We pull it right from our Medicaid log. So we use it for multiple reasons. It documents what we're doing, but we can also bill from that. So we are still continuing that, so that in the hopes we could go back and do some back billing.
But if we need a physician again, we're gonna have to procure one before we can move forward.
Okay.
Other questions?
And I just, as long as the teachers union is paying attention to this too, Joanne.
Thank you. Thanks, Erica. Wow.
Very good information, thank you.
All right, I think that covers everything on our public agenda. And so we'll go into non-public.
We probably have to have a picture taken.
We need a picture taken, we need evidence of attendance. Come on up.
Oh, what about F?
Are we ready for F?
Are we gonna do that afterwards?
Yes, that's the non-public. Yeah.
We'll go no.
You the minute taker.
Yeah.
We will. Yeah. B. And then E and A.
Oh, Susan, do you know how to do TikTok? Because these guys are world famous TikTok people now. Oh.
We need to.
Or that?
Let's see, yes, we can, jeez. Okay.
All right, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Wow.
We're a rough crowd. You don't know what you might come.
You never know.
They got more excitement in it.
Is it this thing? Like if they can go and talk about this and go home to their parents?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, direct impact. Mine's on. Oh, all right, we're off.
Well, not yet. We gotta go into we gotta do the motion.
Oh,
I make a motion to go under non-public session under RSA 91.
RSA 91.
It's A 3, 2A and B.
A3, 2A, and B.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call vote. Ms. Sheldon?
Aye.
Ms. Weaselquist?
Aye.
Ms. McKinney?
Aye.
Aye. We are in non-public at 8:02.